Unfortunately, it looks like another UK retail outlet is going to bite the dust. It looks very much like GAK is about to call in the administrators. So GAK, or should I say what it stands for, which is guitar, amp and keyboard, has been a stable part of the Brighton music scene for over 30 years. Now, for those of you not in the UK, Brighton is a coastal town on the south coast of England, has quite a vibrant music scene, and this has been one of the stable suppliers of musical instruments to that community. It was started in 1992 by a guy called Gary Marshall, who was the original owner, and he sold it to Max Keller and Ian Stevens in 2021. Both of these new individuals had been working in the business prior to their acquisition of the business, so they kind of knew what it was all about. Now, GAK was probably notable for the fact that under the steerage of Marshall, it was one of the first UK retailers to start an online web shop so that musicians could buy product. On Tuesday the 25th of March, the GAK website disappeared. Reporting as site is currently unavailable. Where have we seen that recently? And the shop in Brighton had a closed sign on the doors at the start of trading on that Tuesday with a note closed for maintenance. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Now, since Tuesday, the 25th, speculation has started to swirl in the local press, and this was then picked up by publications like Music Radar, that the establishment was actually in trouble. The rumour mill then started to build evidence about why this non-trading situation was actually becoming a permanent situation. First, there was the website being taken down at some point between Monday the 24th and Tuesday the 25th. And it's still offline as at the point of recording this morning. The shop was closed on Tuesday, has remained closed ever since. There was speculation it might open on Friday, but it hasn't opened and it's still closed. This shop was a 7-day-a-week operation. So the fact that it hasn't opened also indicates something. Not quite sure what. Staff were seen in the shop on Friday. As I say, people thought it might open on Friday, but it didn't. And when local press managed to get hold of members of staff, the staff members were told they were under strict instructions that they could not discuss the legal situation. Very interesting. The company's Reverb store is also offline and apparently has also been offline since Tuesday. An ad has been placed in a small business sales website that is accessed by people in the UK and Europe. The ad read, "A musical instrument retailer and supplier in the southeast of England," which is where Brighton is, "with a turnover of £20 million, inviting offers to submit by 5 p.m. Friday the 28th of March. Now, while this is not definitive because it doesn't name the business, you can start to put two and two together. 20 million is a decent size turnover for somebody who has a retail premise and an online web shop selling musical instruments. If you go a little bit further and look up the company in Companies House, which is the list of registered companies in the UK and Wales, England, Wales, it's not Northern Ireland because they have their own and Scotland have their own, but if you go and look at the Companies House for England and Wales and you pull the accounts for the last couple of years of GAK, you will find that they have made consistent operating losses. And these are not small either, they're about £500,000 each. There is a rumour circulating, and I say rumour because there is no substantiation as far as I can tell, that the management have approached other local music outlets to see if they can offload stock. Now, there is no official statement on administration or formal liquidation at this point. Not that I have seen so far at the point of recording this video. In the UK, administration is where you seek legal protection from your creditors, while the administrators assess whether you have a going concern or not and just need restructuring. If they determine you don't have a going concern, then the next stage in the UK is what we call liquidation, which is the process of effectively winding the business up and closing the company down. Now, this is the second high-profile retailer that's gone bust within the last 12 months. I dare say there's a number of other minor ones that haven't hit my radar, but GAK is not far up the coast from where I live. So it's something that I'm kind of aware of because it's somewhere I would pop in to buy some spares. Anyway, last year I commented on the fact that one of my favourite retailers that I used to use quite a lot, especially when I started rewiring this place, was the fact that the North London, the home counties retailer StudioSpare had hit the buffers, and they called in the administrators. Now, they were saved in part by Gear for Life, which purchased the intellectual property of the company, the trading name and the trading aliases. So StudioSpare had a number of trading aliases, things like Trojan for argument's sake, which made cases and hardware, and Gear for Life basically bought those. However, if you go to the Gear for Life website that is you're now directed to, if you go to the StudioSpare's website, as was, you will find that Gear for Life are only selling a subset of what the StudioSpare's product lines actually were. So read into that what you will. Now, I don't know the reason why GAK has fallen into this situation, apart from the fact that if you continue to make losses and can't pay the bills, the business will fail. That's basic economic fact. But the reasons are normally wider than the fact you can't make a profit. One of the things I will say about the UK is, at the moment, the costs of doing business in the UK, especially operating retail premises, are very high compared with other locations in Europe, and probably somewhere other places in the rest of the world. There is this concept of international sourcing. This is where goods are traded across borders because it's cheaper to do so. And when I say cheaper to do so, in some instances in the past, I have found it is cheaper to buy from Germany, suffer the taxes, suffer the import duty, than it is to buy from a UK outlet. How can that be right? But it was. And when you are cost conscious, sometimes you have to do this stuff. Then we have buyer behaviour, and I think this is a critical one. People think nothing about going into a shop, trying something out, and then going to the internet and sourcing it from somewhere they conceive to be cheaper. And I have to be honest and say, in many cases, it is not cheaper when you add in the costs of freight, transport, taxes, duty, etc., etc. But people go with the initial headline cost without factoring in all the other costs in the supply chain. This sounds a little wrong. However, some retailers, and this is actually very true, strike a deal with the manufacturer to be able to put a significant discount on their online product that still makes it cheaper to buy the online product rather than actually go into a shop and buy it from the shop. More and more in the UK, we're seeing manufacturers realign this piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and sales prices in retail units and sales prices in online retail channels are starting to be less differential. I use Andertons. You've probably heard me talk about Andertons a number of times on this channel. But Andertons in Guildford, the price you see on the website is the price you pay in the shop. The differential is how you choose to acquire the product. If you go into the shop and buy the product, that's the price you pay. It's the same as the website. If you order on the website and choose to go and pick it up from the shop, that's the price you pay. Sometimes a manufacturer will do a discount in that they will throw in the transit costs, but if you buy it online from the website and ask for it to be delivered, sometimes that is more expensive because you've got the transit cost or the delivery costs to also be rolled up into the cost of the unit. So what happens next? Well, we'll kind of have to wait and see how this story plays out, to be honest. I suspect it may be several weeks before we actually get to the bottom of actually what's going on, because at some point in the UK, once you appoint administrators or liquidators, depending on which way the business is going to go, they have to start making official statements. And normally in the UK, and I've said this before on the StudioSpares, there will be an announcement in the London Gazette, which is the standard place for posting announcements on company failures. Someone might repeat the Gear for Music style purchase. Do I think that's likely? Not sure. This might be a bit of a different business case. StudioSpares was quite niche in what it did. Yes, it did have product, but in terms of, there were studio pieces that you might pick up. But StudioSpares was really aimed at sort of the stuff that you don't tend to get from online retailers per se. You wouldn't go to StudioSpares necessarily and buy a synth, but you would go to StudioSpares and buy a synth stand, or a mic stand, or a lighting stand, or the cables to connect your camera to the video, or camera or synthesizer to the desk. That's what you went to StudioSpares to buy. GAK, on the other hand, sold product, instruments. There are a number of other companies in this country that do exactly that. So, is it the same scenario? Probably not. Now, there was also a comment where around whether you'd buy the online shop, and somebody posted in a user forum that they didn't think that was actually viable either. The name might be viable, but actually the online presence might not be, because the online presence does not own the stock. The stock is owned by the retail unit, not by the online shop. Effectively, I suspect that when you buy a synthesizer from the online shop, either the online outlet gets a commission and it's structured that way, or the goods are effectively transferred from entity 1 to entity 2 and sold as a part of a seamless back-to-back transaction. So there might actually not be anything of any value actually here to sell per se. But who knows? Until the real picture starts to emerge, and as I say, it's only been a week, we will have to wait and find out. And on that note, I'm going to say, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.